Are you considering yourself to be a bit of a people pleaser? Maybe worried about upsetting others? Certainly being most of these things and things I've recovered from and recovering from in my life. Well, today I'm going to talk about the difference between being kind, which can be really powerful, and being nice, which may disempower you, and what you can do about that. And if you stay until the very end, I have an extra special point for you then as well. Before we dive in, as always, if you want to connect with me more, you can find my social media links in the show notes below. We were talking about this in my men's group the other day. So I had an in-person one, and then we had a online meeting as well. Even that was different groups in both, apart from my coach was at both. And we were talking about the difference between being kind and being nice, and it was really powerful. And I just had to share this, and it was a big realization in my life. Now, a lot of people, like in our group, we've got a lot of strong men. And when I say strong, I mean that they can emotionally be there for themselves, and that they're able to support others. You know, they've been through a lot, they're very resilient, and some of them got very successful careers, very loving relationships, all those kind of things, right? And my coach, who was leading it, asked everyone, who here considers themselves to be a recovering nice guy? Every single person, every single man, no matter where they were, put their hand up. So what I realized is that so many of us as men, now this can apply to any gender when I'm talking about this, have this like people pleasing tendency in us. Now, often from my own experience, it comes from early age. We're trying to please parents, teachers, all these people, right? And if we're not conditioned or trained to really be ourselves and speak up for what we believe, then it can be quite difficult. Now, depending on our life experiences as well, that can really reinforce that, right? Now, for me, I'd been a people pleaser for many, many years because I was terrified of the fear of abandonment and loss of people from a young age. So I didn't want to risk upsetting anyone, right? For so many years. And even now, if I'm honest, sometimes in my body, when I get into a little bit of conflict with someone, it's great that I can actually, speak up and talk, because, I wouldn't be putting podcasts out if I couldn't, because I'm always going to get people who disagree, which is totally cool. But yeah, like even now it even comes up. And for me, that came from like the fear of abandonment and loss. I lost a lot of people when I was younger. My brother, my grandma, my granddad, and a few more situations as well. And I think it's a journey. There's an author called Dr. Robert Glover, wrote a book called Talking About Nice Guys, right? No More Mr. Nice Guy. Almost went for a second there. And his book talks about how to move through it. And he says, even, I think he's just gone past 70, he says he's still working through it, right? The thing is, it's something you can work through. And when we become more aware, certainly for me, it really helps our quality of life, because if we're too nice is about trying to please people because we're scared of our insecurities coming out or them not liking us, which basically gives all our power away. And particularly this can come out a lot in dating and relationships. Certainly done this many times, made this mistake. There's a difference between this and kindness though. Kindness is about giving like a loving energy to other people. And sometimes that may involve challenging them. I'll give you an example. Say you've got a friend who's maybe drinking a bit too much because maybe he's had a divorce. I used this example on social media the other day. And this is what the nice guy does. Oh, it's okay. I understand why you're drinking a lot. It's okay. It's going to be okay. You're a good guy. Keep drinking. But inside, it's not right, and they're drinking too much and they're destroying their life in a certain way. Again, it's not saying drinking's bad, but let's say this is really destructive behavior. This is what you would do if you're kind. Look, mate, you're better than this, right? I know you're upset. I know this. You're in a lot of pain. But honestly, I love you, and I've got to tell you this. You need to sit and learn to regulate your emotions. You need to work through this, because this is not you. This is not acceptable behavior. You're not showing up for people. Yes, regulate your emotions, but this is not healthy behavior. That is kindness, because that is from love. Now, the reason the nice approach wouldn't do that, on the nice, if you're too nice, you wouldn't do that, is because you're scared of the conflict of what the person might say. When you're kind, it doesn't mean you're not afraid of that, but it's like you're willing to be disliked for the greater good. Okay? So we're going to go through a few points now. And maybe you've been caught up in being too nice. And actually, I found it's quite damaging for my mental health, because I put everyone else's agenda. I don't look after me. So that's what we're going to talk about right now, how I've worked through not being too nice. And now and then, like I say, I have to catch myself for it, but I've certainly moved a lot more. And I come from more of a place of kindness now. So the first thing is, own your identity. Know who you are. Write down an identity statement. Who are you? I'm a powerful, strong, heart-driven man who is willing to challenge other people. Write down your identity, who you are at the core. Not what you're scared about, not what you think others labeling you as, who you are at your core, who you want to be. First one, then read that every day. The second thing, know your boundaries and own them. What is acceptable and what's not? So, for example, I used to have a pet peeve of people eating really, really loudly, like crisps and stuff like that. Now, that's probably not strong enough to be like a boundary of like me telling everyone who's eating loudly to like shut up, right? I've seen it in gangster films that the gangsters will come and attack the person, whatever. Can't remember what film that was. But a boundary would be for me is if like someone I was caring about and giving a lot of love to was like ignoring me, I would be like, look, what's going on? Are you interested in me? Are you, well, that'd be obviously in a romantic sense if I was dating a girl. Are we not friends anymore? If it's a friend situation, or maybe family member say, look, is something going up? Because I really feel like I'm being ignored and I don't like this. That's how I'm personally feeling. So that would be a boundary I'll be putting in place, right? So you've got to know them, right? And then the third thing, have a kindness list. Have a list of kindness and be very clear. So kindness could be like giving some money to someone on the street who's homeless, or going and helping in a charity organization or something like that, or just complimenting someone, a genuine compliment, not trying to please them and get their approval, but doing it out of the goodness of your heart, all right? And then do that every day, because it works for me. It makes me feel a lot better. Now, I've got a final point I want to share, but just to mention again, if you want to connect with me more, you can find my social media links linked in the show notes below. The final point is a very simple one. It kind of follows the last podcast episode. Hang out with more confident, like certain people. If you hang out with people who are trying to be pleasers and nice all the time, and again, it's not like judging people or putting people down, it's not like that, then you're more likely to adapt, right? When I hang out with people who are certain and they move forward, that impacts my behavior. As human beings, we'll adapt to the behavior around us. I was at a men's group the other day, and there was a guy, and he was like, there's another guy talking rubbish, basically, but the guy didn't mean to be talking rubbish, but he was like complaining about things and talking in a negative way about himself. And then the other guy comes out and goes, I want to challenge you on your language a little bit. Do I have permission to do that? And the guy goes, yes. And then he challenged him. And I was like, I could get that energy from the guy challenging him. And the guy who's challenging him was doing it out of love. He was being kind. He was not being nice. He said, I don't feel like you're talking to yourself or about your life in the right way, and you need to change your language. And like the impact of that on me, I'm able to go out and have those conversations with people now. So if you hang out with those kind of people, it's going to rub off on you as well. So that's what I got for you today. I just wanted to touch on niceness and kindness. I appreciate you for being here. And remember to lead with your heart, not with fear.